right. Get ready for this one.
Uh-oh.
So you're 6 weeks. So, babies like interacting good. So the question is, um, what do you have any strategies or plans to try to help keep intimacy and love with your partner really alive? Like, what are you guys trying to do or doing that's set aside just for you guys? Because it's hard when you start to just invest all your resources into this baby. Sometimes relationships then can struggle, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to continue to give time to your partners. So, yeah, have you guys, either experienced any of that like lately where you feel like some of that has started to lack and you have to actively say like, hey, we got to make an effort to keep this going and keep this alive and not lose ourselves because of this baby, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's like a super important like parenthood question. And yeah, I think it's something that we've actually been really aware of. Even before we were pregnant, when we were talking about what it would be like to have kids and what it would be like to be parents, one of the things that we very clearly agreed on was like the one, if not the best, one of the best things that we can do for our child or children is to show them a committed, loving, intimate, happy relationship between their parents. And so it was really important to us to understand that and to prioritize that. And obviously, it's like our son isn't he's not like aware of our relationship, you know what I mean? He's not gonna like, 20 years from now be like, man, those first couple months you guys were so lovey-dovey together. Like he's not gonna do that. But the practice that we build in this time is going to help, down the line when he's 3, 4, 5 or whatever, and is actually aware of what our relationship is like. And so, we don't have any sort of like normalcy of like, oh, here's our date night and here's this. But a really good piece of advice I got from one of my brothers, my brother who has the 3 kids, he says, one night a week, one weekend a quarter, and one week a year should be specifically set aside, like at the very least should be specifically set aside as like just you and your wife. And it's something that he and his wife has been doing even through having all 3 of the kids, with help obviously from my parents and her parents, and like, various childcare to make that happen. But that's been a really important part of them prioritizing each other and their relationship and making sure that they don't lose that. And I think our way of keeping some sort of, the relationship being prioritized while we're both so focused on keeping this like creature alive and growing and happy and learning his habits at the same time has been little date things here and there. Like, well, I'll go get some like picnic foods and we'll set up like, picnic dinner in our living room where we'll let the dogs out and we'll just like sit in the living room on the floor together. It'll then have the baby in like the bassinet in the other room and just kind of have a dinner together. Or we'll go and grab the baby and take him out for lunch, but he'll be in sort of like his carrier and he'll be covered, and we'll have like a sandwich together and split a coffee or split like a little pastry and like catch up. And so setting ourselves a little bit of time here and there has helped that. In terms of like physical intimacy, I mean, like that is, it's difficult. I mean, it's 100% like, she has to recover from giving birth. And then another part of that is, you know, she needs to learn her body and like actually get to know what's going on with her. Things change after you have a baby. And I don't know, so we're at 6 weeks this week. And I think on Wednesday, today is Tuesday, so tomorrow I think she actually has her 6-week appointment checkup with her midwives, and they're going to kind of see what her body's doing and how she's feeling and how she's progressing. And I think at that point she can start kind of reintroducing like, how do I actually feel? Like she isn't even exercising completely at this point. Like she can't really do squats or she can't really run or anything like that. So she's like kind of sitting on a rower. And like there just isn't that. I don't want to be like the partner that's like, come on, let's have sex again. Let's do this. Like, I don't want to be that partner, because that's just not helpful. You know what I mean? Like being like the pushy guy is not gonna help either of us. So like, I have to have a little bit of patience and be like, okay, like how can I help this process? I'm just learning how to help this process with the baby, and I'm learning how to help this process with her having some sort of like physical practice and sort of consistency in our like, movement and walks and nutrition and stuff like that. But how do I help this process? And I don't even know if I have a role in helping that process. I think a lot of that just is being available, comfortable, a good partner, supportive, and just around for, however I can help. And what about you guys?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like a couple good points you raised. Like for one thing, the like the time is obviously important. Like we try to do little things, go for walks, do whatever, and like yeah, it's great. Um, but I think that yeah, like intimacy is challenging. Like physical intimacy is something that's like she's their body's completely changed, right? And I think that that's a lot of your identity, right? I think that like your identity's been shaken big time, and now you're wrestling like what it's like to be a mom and whatever. So yeah, like support and time and that kind of stuff is super important. I actually think as well it's like really important around, I think particularly like where you are in time wise, like make a concerted effort to like try to make her feel sexy and like feel good, because I think that that's a challenge that a lot of women have. And again, I've never been a woman postpartum, so but I think that that's, and I don't think that I do an amazing job at it either, and I think that's something that I'm trying to be better at, to be like, okay, like how do I make this feel better, and like help like kind of come back to an identity of like of her, not like pre-pregnancy, but just like her uniquely her, like as a
Mhm.
woman, her, not like as a mother necessarily, not as whatever, but like that's what's kind of important, is like that was your relationship before the baby. And I think it's important to maintain a lot of that, is like what are we together, like what are whatever. So yeah, like trying to find ways to even if it's like little things you used to do as like little dates or activities pre-baby, like doing those things still that remind you of like, this is still us and the way we are, right? But I think that it's important to make a concerted effort of that kind of stuff. And you're right, you can't be pushy in any kind of way. But I think that regardless of like sexual intimacy, like being able to make them feel good in their bodies and that kind of thing is really, really important, because I think that that's like the ultimate vulnerability.
Mhm.
And like you're saying, like, at 6 weeks, like, yeah, like I mean, at 6 weeks, Michelle wasn't doing any kind of exercise yet. So like good on Katie. Like we've just kind of now, I think Michelle started going back to the gym this week, the last kind of like 5 days, maybe. She's gone in a couple times. Like we were doing some running, like a couple weeks ago, but it's hard, and it's hard to get that confidence back, right? So little things that are going to help kind of bring back confidence in just her identity, like who she is and who she like I don't even want to say who she was, because like who she is,
Who she is.
but like
Exactly. Exactly.
but just like who she is, um without the baby still, because I think that occupies a lot of space in their minds, and as it should. But being able to like not detach from it, but just exist outside of that as well, because you are still a person, and you still have your own needs and things that you that you want and whatever, right? So it's I think that that's just an important thing to think about. And I think just if you're kind of keeping it in your mind a little bit periodically, like it should help to shape your behaviors in the right direction.
Yeah.
um
I
but
do. I like that a lot. I actually really like that idea of like, your role to kind of help support it a little bit is to almost be like, hey man, not like man, but like, hey man, like a reminder, like I still find you super sexy. You're still
yeah,
incredible. You're my wife. Like I love being married to you. And it has nothing to do with whatever you might be feeling or experiencing physically at this point. Like that type of like attraction and love is not contingent on anything, especially on this. And you know, I think like a little bit, you know, it's an intimacy isn't just sexuality, right? Like there's a lot of physical intimacy that we've
Totally.
reintroduced into our relationship that just wasn't possible when she was super pregnant and had to pee every like 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Like we can cuddle on the couch and like watch TV, or we can, you know, she can fall asleep in my arms for the first time in like 6 months, which is beautiful. I was telling her last night, I was like, I really just enjoy being able to hold you again, because she was sleeping with this fucking maternity pillow for the past like 5 months that was like this moat between, it was like a barrier between us
Yeah,
for
Michelle was
months.
like a like pillow fortress. Like she
Yeah,
was like stacked in,
fortress. And
right?
I was like, I
Yeah,
can't wait for this thing to get out of my bed so I can actually like hold my wife when she falls asleep
totally.
again, you
That's
know?
the
And
thing, right? Like love her body still, right? Like that. Like I agree. Like I think the contingent thing is a big piece of it. It's like being able to just show in any way that like things haven't changed, right? And so I think that being able to provide soft reminders of that on a regular basis, I think, at least in my mind, I think is a good way to help that process a little bit, and just and help them reconnect with themselves a little bit, because I think it's just, yeah, it's like a huge identity crisis likely.
yeah,
And I wouldn't I can't pretend to understand it from that side, but I think that that's a piece that I think you hear a little bit from time to time, that like, you know, after kids, like relationships or certain things, they stop being serviced in the way that they should be, and it becomes all about the kids or things like that, and it just making a concerted effort to have that not be the case. Like, don't
yeah,
make it all about the baby, and like, you know, service your relationship in ways that it should, right? Whatever that is for you guys, it's different for everybody's relationship, but um, those are things that, again, I could definitely do better at myself. So it's
yeah.
not like I'm in my ivory tower being like, you should do this. Like,
No, no,
I
yeah. And
certainly could do it better, but it's something that I try to keep in mind.
yeah, I dig that. And my go-to, a lot of times, the easiest thing for me is to just literally cat call my own wife. So like as she's like walking by, I'm just like, you know, and she like laughs it off, but I think it helps. I really do think it helps a little bit, because she's like, oh, you were doing that shit even before, like you were cat calling me like even before I had
See,
this
that's the
baby.
thing.
So
I think just even like I said, like for your relationship, like it's little nods to like things aren't different. Like things are different, but not in every way. Like
right.
it doesn't need to be a whole new thing. Like we can still be us. We can still like, and if that's what part of your intimacy looks like with some humor injected and things like that, like that's perfect,
Yeah.
right? So I think that that's great. Yeah, that kind of stuff is perfect.